Imagine that your life is chaos. It seems like you're doing something, but you have no clear understanding of why sometimes things work out and sometimes they don't. Money comes and goes. Your mood swings. Your productivity feels random. Now imagine that you have a control panel, just like in a computer game, where all the indicators of your life are clearly displayed. Income, energy, efficiency, health, happiness. You can see exactly what affects them and which actions give you the best results. And I'm not fantasizing, this is real. All you need is to learn how to measure your life. In this video, I'll show you the key principle of reality management, one that changes the rules of the game. This isn't theory, it's a proven strategy that always works. Let's begin. Dear viewers, in my private Telegram channel, I share techniques that will help you not just cope with chaos, but use it to your advantage. Subscribe now via the link in the description of this video. If you want to exit the matrix and become the one who sets the rules of the game with respect, you're on the edge. You're watching your life like it's someone else's movie. Every day feels like a repetition of the last, an endless loop of grey, uneventful moments. You seem to be doing something, yet you're not moving forward. You feel no progress. Everything in your life is chaos, complete disorder, randomness. You wake up, go to work, come home, sleep, and then repeat it all again. You waste so much time that you start to think, maybe this is fate, but it's not fate. It's your inability to manage your own reality. You're living as if everything just happens by itself, running on autopilot. You're not tracking what's happening in your life. And that's your main mistake. You don't see what drives you, what's holding you back, what's destroying your progress. You're just drifting along. You're not even aware of how many opportunities you're missing, simply because you're not observing what's going on. You don't notice how tiny details can radically change your life. You think you're in control, but really you're just experiencing events as chaos because you're not measuring them. You don't see the patterns. You don't understand why you're not achieving what you want. All because you're not tracking what's happening. You're like someone sitting in a dark room trying to figure out what's around them. You don't see what's preventing you from moving forward. You're living intuitively, but intuition is not a strategy. It's just a roll of the dice. All of this is your chaos. It's the misunderstanding, the disconnect between your desires and your actions. You don't see how your habits control you because you're not noticing what you're actually doing. You're losing time, never tracking your actions or your energy. And until you become aware of this chaos, you'll stay exactly where you are, in this closed loop, without control. And you know what's most interesting? The moment someone starts tracking their life, the moment they begin recording what's happening to them, they begin to see patterns, their life starts to gain structure, and most importantly, they realize they can control their reality. This isn't magic, this is measurement. When you start tracking what's happening in your life, you stop being a victim of circumstance. You stop being just an observer. You become the architect of your reality. You might think actions and small details don't matter, but you'd be wrong. Everything you do, every word, every step, every choice, eventually builds your reality. And if you don't see the big picture, if you don't understand how the puzzle pieces of your life fit together, you'll never be able to take control. You might believe it's impossible. You might think tracking every moment is boring or pointless. But believe me, you're wrong. The biggest myth you've been told is that your life is random. It's not. You can control your reality. But to do that, you have to start with something simple: measurement. And no, it's not just about counting steps or logging meals. It's much more than that. It's the realization that even the smallest details can create a huge difference. For example, you can track your sleep. Yes, sleep. One of the most important pillars of your life. You might spend hours talking to people, scrolling social media, but none of that matters if you don't even know how many hours you're actually sleeping or the quality of that sleep. And not only do you not know what affects your sleep, you don't even realize how sleep affects your productivity, your emotions, your energy. And this is where the magic begins. When you start tracking, you start to notice. You start to understand. You realize whether you're sleeping enough or whether you're wasting too much time on meaningless things that are harming your rest. You begin to see how specific parts of your day impact your state of mind and your productivity. And the most important part, you start to fix it. You'll see how easy it is to correct your habits, how easy it is to improve your life once you start noticing what's actually happening. You'll realize that you don't need to torment yourself for hours. You can simply measure and act, because small steps create massive changes. When you start measuring, you step into a field of power. You'll no longer flail around hoping for luck. You'll start to control the process, tracking, measuring. It's not just about sleep or diet. It's about constant awareness of yourself and your internal state. It's about your emotional stability. You won't even realize how much your life is changing at first. But if you keep tracking your actions and your successes, you'll start to see how every little behavior is shaping your future. And as soon as you become aware that you can measure your actions and outcomes, you'll also realize that you can manage them. With every step you track, you'll begin to see that you have real control over your life. Forget the endless trial and error. Start measuring and moving, because only what you measure truly matters. Have you ever wondered why some people achieve success effortlessly, while others spend their entire lives trapped in cycles of failure and frustration? Why do some reach their goals 10 times faster than you? The answer lies in one thing, and it's not luck. Everything you need to understand is this: your life is not random, it's patterned. Everything you do leads to outcomes, but you can't see those outcomes clearly until you start tracking your actions. How many times have you told yourself, I need to start working out, I need to eat better, I need to improve myself? And how many times did you start, only to fall back into old habits a week later? You think you're weak, that you lack willpower, but that's not true. What you're really lacking is awareness. You can't see the hidden patterns, and without that, you'll never be able to manage your life. Thinking that success is random is like looking at a painting without your glasses on. All the colors blur together into a meaningless mess. But once you start tracking your actions, once you start noticing even the tiniest details, you'll see it all clearly. You'll begin to understand that your efforts and your failures follow patterns. You start tracking your workouts, your food, your rest, even your mood. And slowly, you begin to notice. When you sleep 8 hours, you're more productive the next day. When you cut back on carbs, workouts feel harder. When you take a break to meditate midday, you feel calmer and more focused. You start to see these invisible threads, the hidden connections that run your life. And now that you see the patterns, you become the master of your reality. You understand what's happening. And more importantly, you know how to fix it. You don't have to guess what to do next. You can predict your actions and move toward your goals with confidence. This isn't magic. It's just the skill of seeing patterns in the chaos. It's like having a battle strategy. You're not acting blindly anymore. You know exactly what needs to be done because you can see the map of the battle. You know where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and all of that comes from measurement. Measurement gives you the data. Data you can analyze and use to move forward. And so, your next step is this. Start tracking everything. Not just your wins, but your failures too. Only then can you learn from the results. Without lying to yourself, without wasting years on blind attempts. Start noticing what you feel in certain moments, what emotions you experience. That's your map. You're no longer lost in chaos. You're commanding it. All the magic we've been talking about is hidden in one simple but powerful principle: the measurement effect. You've probably heard of it, but maybe you never realized how powerful it really is. When you start tracking anything in your life, whether it's exercise, food, sleep, or even emotions, you automatically begin to influence those things. Just by measuring, you're already changing your reality. Think about it. When you don't know how many steps you take in a day, you just walk aimlessly. But the moment you start tracking it, you notice. You walk more. You move more. You don't need to hit crazy numbers. But the very act of tracking creates change. It sends a signal to your brain. You're in control, and you can improve this. It all starts with awareness. It's the same with food. When you don't know how many calories you're eating, you live in the dark. But the moment you start logging your meals, how much protein, carbs, and fat you're consuming, you begin to see where you're making mistakes. And you stop eating randomly, because now you know what impacts your results. That too is not randomness. That's awareness. And once that awareness kicks in, a new reality begins to form. You start seeing your progress. You start understanding what works for you and what doesn't. You're no longer acting blindly. You're making conscious decisions. And this is where true control begins. It's like turning on the lights in a room that's always been dark. Now, step by step, you can finally navigate that space. The measurement effect gives you power. You don't have to wait for your body to change on its own. You start taking intentional action, knowing that if you change even one small habit, it will impact the result. And all of this doesn't happen because you're a wizard. It happens because you've shifted from intuitive guessing to conscious control. Sounds like magic, right? But it's not. It's just logic and consistency. Now, let's look at your next step. Think about where you can begin tracking. Think about which habits or areas of your life you want to improve. Because the moment you start measuring, you stop being a victim of your life. You become its architect. And only then do your actions start to move you in the direction you truly want. You're not just planning anymore. You're leading. You're creating your own success, step by step, one marker at a time, with a level of precision you've never had before. And now, you've reached the end. It's time to understand the most important part. Everything you've learned here, this isn't just theory. This is your path to real results. You're no longer the one who just dreams or complains about life. You're the one who understands that only active, measured actions can build the reality you talk about. You know that if you don't start tracking and measuring your steps, your efforts will stay chaotic and fruitless. Now is the time to turn theory into reality. You understand that from this moment on, your life depends on you, on your decisions, your actions. No more excuses, no more waiting for tomorrow. It's time to act, right now. You've set your goal and you have everything you need to reach it. You are armed with the tool of measurement, and you know exactly how to direct your efforts. Forget those who waste time on empty talk and wishful thinking. Your luck is your action. And when you start tracking everything that matters, you'll feel yourself pulled forward. Not because fate has chosen to bless you, but because you are taking the right steps. You're controlling your reality. You decide what to change, when to change it, and what to keep. You're no longer waiting for someone or something to help you. Remember, action is the only way to truly change your life. You are now one step closer to your goal. This isn't just motivation, it's strategy. A clear roadmap for taking your life into your own hands and becoming the one who shapes your future. You know what to do. You know how to measure. And you know the time has come to act.